companion. Yep.
Welcome to Kalamazoo, Michigan. They call it the Zoo, home of the Kalamazoo Curling Club, the Wings Event Center. Final round-robin game for Pool A here at the 2023 USA Curling Mixed Doubles National Championships. 16 teams are competing for the right to represent the United States at the 2023 Mixed Doubles World Championships in Gangneung, South Korea. A look at the standings going into this draw. Persinger Plys have locked up the number 1 seed and the bye from this group at 6-0. Geving, Schuster, Hamilton in control of their own destinies can win and make the playoffs in this game. Moores, Wheeler, Rhymes, Smith needing a win and some help to have a chance. Burr, Fountain Cott, Rohrbacher, Skebby all eliminated from playoff contention. Tyler George and Nate Perry making his second appearance here in the booth. Nate, we liked you enough to have you back. It's always a good sign.
Yeah, I was joking with Dean. I was a little surprised my mic didn't get cut off yesterday, but excited to be back and watch some teams qualify for the weekend.
Well, with Dean, we joke that he cut his own mic off by accident when he was in anyways. So here you see Team Persinger Plys, Vicky Persinger and Christopher Plys. Again, that number 1 seed, part of this feature game. Vicky Persinger throwing her first stone. 1 rock already in play. Well, technically 3 rocks already in play, but 1 has already been thrown. Vicky playing the in-turn draw. Trying to get this to settle into the top of the forefoot. So looks a little bit deep, but settling right on the button. Are sitting 2. And their opponents for this game, Kim Rhyme and Jason Smith. Again, the squad needing a win and a little bit of help to get into a possible tiebreaker situation for the playoffs. There is Jason Smith. Call him Smitty, call him Smittens, whatever you like. He is throwing the middle 3 stones for this squad. Looking for a freeze on that rock on the button if possible. Nate with their backs up against the wall in this situation. Opposite for Team Persinger Plys with nothing at stake for this game except their undefeated record. Definitely different mentalities going in. Some teams play better when they're desperate. Some play better when they're loose.
Yeah, we just talked about that pregame. Chris and Vicky tend to play best when they are loose and feeling good out there, so I imagine they'll be playing just fine and stay plenty sharp, but certainly the pressure on the other end for Smitty and Kim, it is definitely a different approach.
Yeah, Pool B, their final round robin game coming up this evening. TC and Dropkin are the number 1 seed for the playoff round coming out of their pool. Anderson, Stapera, Strauss, Casper, both in control of their own destiny at 4-2. Anderson, Richardson, Nickel needing a win and help to get into a tiebreaker situation, and Mulaney, Sinnott, Bookout, Wiesem, Podol, Perry all eliminated. So identical situations in these 2 pools with the top 3 seeds clear, but the number 2 and number 3 seeds both needing wins to ensure making it into the playoff round, and 2 teams at 3-3 needing a win and a loss by either of the 4-2 teams to have a chance to get in. So basically mirror images here, Nate.
Yeah, funny how it works out with doubles, and you never know how any individual game will go. So we'll see how these teams do and try to make some noise and get into that tiebreaker, and you never know what'll happen.
3 early stones piled up in the house for Vicky and Chris. See, the scoreboard in the bottom left was the feature game we were going to have, I believe, or something different at least. This game with the most playoff potential.
What'd you get on that one?
Here?
That ends up biting top fours. Still sitting 3 for
I think 20.
Vicky and Chris. And with Hammer.
The corner freeze is yellow. It's
Early
not bad.
danger for Kim Ryan and Jason Smith. Stone biting the top
I
of the
think your
fours
last
tonight. It's
one might
something
have
they
been a
could
little
possibly
tight with
use,
the right
but
weight as well. So
the more of those red stones that pile up in the 4-foot, the more difficult it is to make that yellow stone count.
04. So I think a 20
Yeah, it looks
is
like
very
both teams
close.
got just a little heavy on those first few, and Kim and Jason tried to make the adjustment. Just a little short there. Is usable, but running out of rocks quickly.
Top. Looks tight to me.
Mine's okay.
Previous draw, we saw
Not tight at all.
Abe and Kirsten Nickel trailing
Back
5-0
Oh.
in their game after 2 ends against Taylor Anderson, Ben Richardson, but then came out with a 4 in the third, so
It's hurt somewhere that they have the most 4s in the field. It feels like every game that Nickel managed to put some lopsided numbers in.
they actually had a shot for a second 4 later in the game too, but as crazy as the game was, that one only would have cut their deficit to 1 once again, as they were down by 5 in the 7th inning.
Got me.
So it was possible for a brief point in the 7th that they could have scored 2 4s and still been down by a point going to the final end. Really entertaining game to do.
Sounds like doubles.
Hey, you could, that's the mixed doubles with the shrug emoji, I believe,
Yep.
right?
That's my friend Vince I'm rooming with. I think he's been in the booth up here a couple of times with us about a few of his games. Is, well, we did this shot, then that, and then doubles happen. Is how he phrased it.
Mixed doubles happens. That is the term. Smitty, Jason Smith trying to play double and roll, or at least make contact with each other and roll. Needs to get to the inside here. Does, but actually over curls and rolls nearly open to the other side. Edge to edge on that rock with biting top 4, so maybe not much they could do with it.
We can get to the nose of it.
Early question in the
I think you're always
YouTube chat
flipping it.
asking who my
That's
favorite
fine.
is in the Briar.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you
Yeah,
don't
it's
pick
like back
Brad
line.
Gushu and then go
Great.
from there, you feel pretty foolish at the end of the week a lot of times. So Brad may or may not win, but that's where I would feel most comfortable taking Brad. And my pre-tournament pick for a final is the
I don't
same
think
one
it's
that
the
we've
worst
seen about
of the
40
top one
times.
either. Right?
Gu versus Ku. Brad Gushu, Kevin Ku. I believe they had a stat. I don't know the exact numbers. Maybe Jerry knows this off the top of his head. But between Gushu, Kui, and Botcher, I think the 3 of them have played in the last
Back
8
line.
Briar finals or something like that.
Tom Brady,
Oh.
Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh,
Right. Yeah, some crazy number. That's about right.
Oh,
Interesting to see what those new teams have formed after this last game.
hard!
This is really close here, getting this by. Oh, what a great shot. Boy, if Chris is making those, that's trouble for the rest of the field. Perfectly played. No room for error to get by there. And now sitting,
quite
looks to be
close.
4. Yeah, that's as close as you can cut it, Nate. That's perfect weight, perfect throw.
He didn't seem particularly stressed about it either. If it's shots like that, looking that easy. Watch out.
Yeah, I think part of it is being 6-0 and locked into the 1 seed. Part of it is, well, we've been making these all week, so why would we stop now? This is the one team in the field, too, that's based on their recent success. When they go on a run like this, then everybody else needs to watch out. There's a ton of talented teams here, but the champs are the champs until proven otherwise.
Wait, good.
We ran into the Corey and Corey earlier, and they had quite a few good ends. It didn't seem to matter. They shots where they wanted to. And I found out from Corey in the locker room too that he's actually rooming with Fritz, and Corey TC's with Vicky, so that should make for an interesting playoff matchup down the road.
This has got a lot of weight, even if it gets by. Touches that top yellow stone and spins off. And this looks like it's already at least 3. They did move that top yellow stone. Not sure if they moved it in to sit 4th, but at the very least, this is a draw for 4 for Vicky Persinger. Vic just needs half of the 4-foot. Open on that side, and if they believe yellows count, then they can use their own for backing as well, regardless of what's 4th. Return draw for Vic. Final stone of this first end. Nice comfortable start for Persinger and Plys again. Heard Vicky say a little soft out of hand, meaning she thought the release might be a little soft, but the line looks plenty wide. Usually soft release means they thought they may have turned it over a touch. Trouble on line. Chris just valets this one into the side of the button, and we're seeing at least 4. We got to make a call on a measurement, then could ruin the perfect record. We'll see if they do measure. That's really close. Kicking him out. I'm not going to say what I thought because I don't need to.
I was thinking it was yellow, so go ahead and put it out there.
I'm not going to say until we see it, but I guess it doesn't matter. It's not official. But I was thinking. Start of the second end, our feature matchup, final round robin draw for Pool A 2023 Mixed Doubles National Championships. With the start of the second end, time to talk again about Warm Room Hero. Is your curling club website clunky and unworkable? Are you tired of your club relying on social media because your website just does not work for your members? Finally, the curling management software your club has been waiting for is here. Check out Warm Room Hero at curling.club today. Still waiting on that score to be posted.
4 red, it looks like, on the home end there.
Looking down at the far end, it does say 4-0, so you were correct on that yellow read, Nate. That's not an official win in the books for a measurement, but still good to be right.
We'll take it for the first end.
We will. Right to the top of the button once again, all the way to the tee for Vicky. And Nate, we like to say on those draws, finishing off ends, the easiest way to score 3 is a free draw for 4. But no mistake made on that one. Right to the 4-foot for Vicky once again. And it's so important for these guys going into the playoffs to keep that momentum going. Now with that 4-point end and a couple really well-made shots, especially that accurate shot by Chris on the left side of the 4-foot. Off to a great start once again.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they keep it together with no real pressure in the game and now no real pressure on the scoreboard. But after all, it is doubles, and those lopsided numbers can creep up on you in a hurry. And a lot of game left for Kim and Jason. As our coach told us this week, that the best time to give up a 3 or a 4 is the first end. You'd rather do it then than the 8th. Our team's done it a few more times than we would have liked, but there is plenty of time left here for Kim and Jason.
Speaking of 3s and 4s, that's all we have across the board for the first ends of these games. Claire Moores and Lance Wheeler with 4 on Harley Lorbacher and Vince Skevy in the first.
14-7.
The Hamiltons with a 3 on the Burrs. And over on sheet E, Geving and Schuster 3-0 on Fountain Cott. So fireworks early in these games. 1s and 2s need not apply. We saw that with singles in the last game.
Got room right now?
Really light.
Now we don't even have any 2s on the board cross. So
2.
The favorites, I would say, in all 4 games based on
Always
seeding
girl
record,
then.
jumping out to sizable leads. And if those scores do hold,
Heavy, light.
if the teams at 4 and 2 win their games, there will be no tiebreakers out of this group. I can feel Sean Olison sighing contentedly somewhere in this building.
I'll give you there like a 20.
hearing those words.
36.
36.
Maybe
I thought it was
possibly
sweet if I
from
hit it early, but it really
compatriots here in the booth next to us in the tech. Words no tiebreakers. Warm the heart.
I didn't expect that before we went down.
I
Curling
didn't either.
fans watching. Mass chaos and tiebreakers if I was sitting at home. That's what I'm cheering for. But
This
But
side's
here in the
warmer,
building,
though.
yes, we are positioned right now with these scores to have 3 clear-cut playoff teams out of this pool. But, Nate, once again, mixed doubles. A lot of game left.
When all 4 of those lopsided scores were all with hammer, so as you said, the likely on paper favorites didn't mess around with their LSDs, one hammer, and came out swinging.
Yeah, that is correct. All 4 of the teams with better records or higher seeded in this tournament did get hammer in the first as well. A little better position to start out the end for Ryman Smith than the last end, but that lonely red stone well protected for the time being, and Chris Plys throwing the out-turn draw around the outside. Just trying to lob into the side of the 4s or side of the button, bury as much as they can. Vicky calling back 8, so they may need to use that stone in the back of the 4-foot, which would be by design, I believe. Really need it to turn over to not bounce open. Now it's starting to turn, but we'll see how far it bounces. Not much at all. A good shot from Chris. A good safe shot with this 4-point lead. Nate, long as we're talking about the Briar, you have any picks for the week? Any favorites? Any dark horses?
I think Dunstone's hard to bet against the way the showings he's had in the last few years, and I've always been a fan of Botcher. I went to the Briar in person the first final he made, and personally I thought he outplayed Gushu that year, and Gushu's experience came through in the end, and that draw to the pin to win it. But yeah, like you said, all the favorites, Gushu's kind of the favorite until he's not, but I think all the names you would expect will be there right till the end. But another loaded field, just like the Scotties was this last week.
I think based on past year's finishes, if you're just talking skips, Gushu, Kui, and Botcher are up in that top group for almost anybody's picks. And then kind of gets interesting after that with a group of 4 or 5 teams that you could see making a run for the playoffs. And I think Dunstone probably be at the top of that list too. Matt's a good guy. Spent some time with him in Toronto, had some meetings recently, and love to see his team do well. Tanner Horgan, Northern Ontario, same thing with a bit of a Cinderella run. Not that the team was an underdog as much as where they were at in their provincials, winning a tiebreaker, the 3-4 game, the semi, and the final to make it to the Briar. And good friend Colin Hodgson coming out with that announcement on Facebook today that this will be his last Briar, retiring from men's competition, something I kept under my hat for the last few weeks after talking with Haji. I didn't blow it for you, bud. But a wonderful career, and happy to see what you have in store going forward. I know you and I have some things that we'll be bringing up in the near future, too, that we won't be talking about today, but sometime soon.
Oh, and already a fan favorite if the reaction on social media didn't show it. So it definitely be sad to see him go, but I'm sure knowing Colin, he'll be around the curling world for many years to come. Wanted to mention Reed Carruthers, too, could be the first to win a Scotties and then a Briar back-to-back in the course of 3 weeks.
Yeah, Reeder again in that group, too, that would have a serious chance at the playoffs and to win the whole thing with how well that team has played recently, getting hot at the right time.
If it goes anymore, then it's really easy to tap the one that just threw.
Yeah, but they can like tap it.
Even to Team Quebec, I think, could have a solid chance. New team out of Saskatchewan as well. And Jacques Gauthier, I think, could surprise some people.
Yep.
And I think will ruin somebody's week, that young squad. So decent setup now for Ryman Smith. If they can open this up, give themselves a chance to maybe move those reds around and make some more yellows count. See what Smitty can do moving these stones around.
Well, this is the type of shot Smitty would prefer to throw, given the choice.
He clears 2 and leaves the shooter there, so still going to be tough to get in to move those stones around. And tough to tell, but I think red is sitting at least 1.
I like going to the same spot we were just in.
What's that?
I like going
Could be another chance for a measurement. We'll see. Chris doesn't have the face of somebody who looks relaxed or composed. Really intense there, eyeing up these stones. And this is a situation, Nate, and I'm sure you've been in it already too, that in these long tournaments with round robins, there's going to be times when you play games that really have nothing at stake for you, but you know it does for other teams. And part of respecting the game is still giving the best effort you can in those games for somebody who may need a loss from your opponent too. People remember those things. If there's a team that lays down in that spot, costs you, I mean, on one side you could say you shouldn't have put yourself in a position you needed help, but that's not how it's supposed to go. You expect the best effort at all times from all the teams in the field.
Right.
And never expect any different from Chris and Vicky here.
My team finds us in that same situation, and you'd like to play spoiler, maybe ruin another team's week, but it's a pride thing. You're at a national championship. Go win as many games as you can. Just because you're out of qualification doesn't mean it doesn't count.
Oh, 100% agree there. And speaking on the camaraderie side of things, 2018 Olympics, Team Korea, we need a little help to get our destiny in our own hands. A big win over Switzerland, and then when they beat Japan in the final round robin game, that was the one that actually clinched the playoff spot for us, so we didn't have to play a tiebreaker. So I told those guys that they had beers on me for life after we won the whole thing, and they were very happy to hear that. And I've stayed true to my word anytime we've been around them. Changmin Kim, wherever you are out there, we still love you. You can even use my fancy coaster for those beers. It's golden, and it's got some rings on it. It's a steal of 2 for Geving and Schuster over on Sheet E. Now a 5-point lead for them. Trying to lock up their playoff spot. It's a steal of 1 for the Hamiltons also against Burr and Burr to go up 4-0. They also looking to lock in their playoff spot. Long conversation here from Jason and Kim trying to figure out a way in.
It's not easy, but this run back she has lined up could be for another lopsided number here.
You can see a lot of different things happening with this shot. Kim Rhymes, final stone. Play a good clean throw there from Kim. Really close here.
Look at that.
Wow, what a shot. Almost pushes that other red out for another couple of points, too. That was maybe an inch from 3, but ends up being 1. Fantastic shot from Kim Rhyme just to get that point. So the score now, after 2 ends of play, Persinger and Plys, leading Rhyme and Smith 4-1. Third end of action, final round robin game for Pool A, 2023 USA Curling Mixed Doubles National Championships. Feature game, Vicky Persinger and Chris Plys leading 4-0 or 4-1 over Kim Rhyme and Jason Smith. Fantastic shot by Kim on that last to secure at least the 1 point, nearly 3. Tyler George here with Nate Perry. Nate with 1 game to go in this round robin. Talk a little bit about your experience here with your first mixed doubles nationals.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's not quite the results we were hoping for. Just as we said, a few of those lopsided numbers. We've given up a few more early in games than we probably would have liked to. Battled back for the most part. We've come down to the last rock in all but I think 2 of our games. So it can go either way, as we've seen in both pools throughout the week. But always a great time to play all these teams and all these people I like to call friends now, and get out here to Kalamazoo. A great host, great ice. It's been an awesome time. It's a little snowy outside for our taste now, but the rest
like
of the week's
home
been
now.
great.
Between Fargo and Duluth, it's just what we're used to. So nothing new there. And I'm sure I can speak for everybody in the event that, yes, you can consider all these people friends. It's a wonderful group of people. As much as you want to beat their butts when you're out there, everybody's always pleasant off the ice too. Nice intern draw from Vicky there, playing well early. Bumping that rock to the back of the fours too, keeping that space a little bit less congested. Not a bad thing with a 3-point lead and hammer. Whereas if this was a tie game, maybe you see that be more of a freeze shot.
Always seems like a battle to come up with the right formula to see when to bail and start hitting with leads when you're down. Whether you do play those freezes or taps, always interesting what the team's strategies are in those situations.
And here in the booth, Nate, we had an adjustment in strategy. Starting out today with a Tim Hortons coffee. First time that we'd used our Tim's resources for the week. And you can wake up to freshness with Tim's 2 for $6 breakfast sandwiches featuring fresh cracked eggs, paired with the new vanilla-flavored cream cold brew with chocolate cold foam, or a vanilla-flavored latte with chocolate syrup. Thank you to our local sponsor, Tim Hortons, located at 5709 West Nidge Avenue, near I-94 in Portage. We also mentioned earlier, too, about Tim's invading the United States. And not a bad thing for curlers. Makes us, for those of us that played 90% of our tournaments in Canada, it's almost like a comfort zone thing, even for U.S. curlers. Chris taps that rock to the tee line. Rocking the top of the 8-foot, essentially serving as another guard for Vicky and Chris. Important draw here for Jason Smith, seeing if they can maybe get a corner freeze on that red #1 counter. At the very least, set up for a force. Possibly get a steal opportunity later on in the end. This intern draw on the way from Smitty. It looks to be there. All about the line. Might bounce off a little too. I think a little more weight than they were expecting there. But Nate, as we've been using those logos as a gauge, really didn't see it take a turn until just after that Columbia logo, which usually means it's probably about back 8, back 12 type of weight somewhere in there.
Yeah, a little heavy, and if the draw we played earlier today is any indication, it was just a little faster, especially right out of the gate, than it had been in the past day or two. So maybe catching Smitty off guard a little there on that draw.
Chris talking about making sure that they get to nose on this stone. That yellow is, I think, all the way open for him, so still a soft bump, likely from Plys. Rock coming out of his hand really clean right now. Intern starting to turn over now. Chris saying it needs to curl. But Nate, you can even see on this shot that not a lot of revs for Chris's shot, and that's by design too. Just trying to get to the inside. And I think with his hits, you'd see a little bit more rotation for sure. But wanting that thing to walk down late, it's almost a subconscious thing throwing it for him too. That it's just whatever's going to make the shot. When you get to a point where you're playing well enough, you're not thinking about those things, you're just doing them. That's when you know you're really locked in. So unusual to see Chris and Matt talking to each other, even in different games.
Corey Dropkin had said that earlier too. He said they're playing so well, and when they have it, it feels like they can put a rock just about anywhere they want. And when you have that kind of feel, it's pretty dangerous for the opponent.
That comfort level for these players, comfortable with this type of tournament, this atmosphere, that means a lot. But also just the camaraderie as well, you know, the comfort zone of being around the same people all the time. With curling tours, it gets to that point almost with competitors too from other countries. Sneaks by and bumps that redstone out of the 4-foot. Persinger and Plys still sitting 1, but Ryman Smith sitting 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And a perfect angle, at least to move that rock off of the button to maybe sit, you know, probably only 1 still if they play it at that angle, unless they play it off their own. Chris and Vicky just picking another spot. Those watching online too, we do have the YouTube chat up. If anybody has any questions for Nate or myself, or even Jerry Gertz here, sitting over to my right, I can relay Jerry's answers unless he wants to open up his own mic. I just want to put Jerry on the spot, make him have to do some more stuff while he's handling 25 different screens. Over to my right. Nate looked like they were talking about draw to the 4-foot, the outturn side, just above the tee line. Trying to stay safe from only having that 1 stone in the 4-foot right now.
Yeah, just get another counter in there and prevent the high hard one from Kim from causing too much damage.
That one looked like it had a little bit of extra, a little add from Chris.
Yep. Oh, line's good, line's good. Got room.
Starting to dig. Not a bad thing if it's all the way back.
I believe Chris did say before he threw it that the miss was better heavy like that. He wanted to leave Kim this freeze rather than that hit on their yellow, that angle. So I think his goal was accomplished there.
We have some people commenting on talking about the Briar in the chat. That's not a problem in the least bit, because then you're updating those of us in the booth that are not able to watch what's going on. You talk about whatever you want. Curling related, 70s sitcom related, as we did earlier today already. Baseball related. We'll make sure we still give you the call for the game that's going on.
That's one thing I know about curlers is they never can get enough curling. So more Briar talk, Scotties. I know the Junior Worlds is in the playoffs here now, and whatever you like.
Outturn freeze attempt for Kim Rime. Trying to get shot rock around this pile, side of the button. Top of that rock that Chris Plys just threw. Mine looks good. Bounces off a little bit, so it's sitting 2nd. Maybe difficult to get another point in there, but
is that yellow angle over there for Chris and Vicky now to
sure looks like it might be. I don't think that red rock is ever going anywhere but on the other yellow. We'll listen to Chris.
Or a little bit, yeah.
maybe a little high. Yep, peel weight. So Vicky getting a chance to chuck one. She loves these. Might see a whole bunch of yellow flying around with this one.
High, right?
May only be able to score 2, the rock in the back of the forefoot and the one that's on the button right now.
Was it a few years ago at men's and women's nationals, the broadcast started to counter how many doubles Vicky made? She's certainly capable.
Vic the Destroyer, I believe they were calling her that year. Final stone of this third end, Vicky Persinger.
Yes, gotta go.
Playing peel weight, trying to score maybe 2 points. Trying to hold the line as Plys. Oh, just squeaks by. And looks like awfully close from over the top. Yet again for 1 point. Yeah, it just didn't look like Vicky got out to that one at all, Nate.
She was saying hard out of her hand, and those logos in the button make it hard to tell these specifically who shot sometimes.
Now we got to make a call now. I'm gonna go yellow.
You're gonna go yellow?
I think this is yellow. Yeah.
I was thinking red, so we'll see.
Oh, perfect. We're on opposite sides then. That looks yellow from there.
That angle looks yellow, yeah.
Not ruin my perfect record now. This is for 4-0.
Well, and this is the house they said was the most off of the 8 houses out there, and as far
That's
as being a
perfect for something to blame. So Chris thought it was yellow, and Jason thought it was red, which is a little unusual that they each think it's the opponent. I admit I was cheating a little bit because I thought I heard Chris say yellow. Yellow it is. 4-0 for the week. Who cares about the result of the game? I care about my own percentages. So a steal 1 for Ryman Smith, and a big steal at that. After 3 ends of play, Persinger and Plys leading Ryman Smith 4-2.
Twin Cities Orthopedics is ready to go with more doctors, specialty services, and convenient urgent care locations. Ready, set, TCO.
Fourth end of play. Final round robin game for Pool A in the 2023 USA Curling Mixed Doubles National Championships. Ryman Smith with a steal there in the third end on that measurement. Now 4-2, Persinger and Plys leading with Hammer. Getting things going here. Once again, Kim Rhyme playing the intern draw. Ryman Smith needing a win to stay alive for playoff contention.
A question in the chat about these measurements we keep getting. What do you guys think of digital measuring in larger events rather than the old style? This actually came up at the Scotties last week. Curling Canada responded to a thread on Twitter, and I guess the old style stick with the dial we just saw is just about twice as accurate as the laser they use for the draw shot challenge and the digital measurement you mentioned. So
yeah, the reason that was that they brought up was that the edges of the stones are not even, so the laser measurement isn't as accurate because of the indentations in the stones. So the very outer edge of the striking band that you're measuring is always going to stick out a little bit farther. So the extreme outer spot will be the spot that's measured basically no matter what with that bar. That's about as scientific as I can get with that stuff. Ryan with a very nice draw to start out. Now Vicky a little short to the top of the 8-foot. Maybe Ryman Smith turning the tables a little bit, trying to get some momentum going. Looking at rest of the sheets here too. Moores and Wheeler with another steal in the third, now up 6-0 on Rohrbacher and Skebby. Hamilton with another steal in the third, up 5-0 on the Burrs. And Geving and Schuster tacking on another 3-ball to go up 8-0 on Fountain and Cott. So once again, as we update the playoff scenarios, Persinger Plys locked into the number 1 seed. Geving, Schuster, and Hamilton can lock in their playoff spots with a win. Ryman Smith and Moores and Wheeler need wins and a loss from either Hamlin's or Geving Schuster to stay alive. So as of now, with that 8-0 lead for Geving and Schuster and the 5-0 lead for Hamilton, not only would we know all 3 playoff teams, we'd know the seeding as well. With the Hamiltons having beaten Geving and Schuster, that head-to-head would mean Matt and Becca would be the 2 seed. Eileen and John would be the 3 seed. Plenty of game to go. Always possible for comebacks with mixed doubles. Getting to be a bit of a tall task over there for Fountain and Cott with that 8-point deficit. But 5 points down on sheet C, not out of the question for Todd and Regan to come back and make this interesting for the field. Eyes opens things up, but doesn't move anything around in the house. Got some Alaskans or former Alaskans invading the chat on YouTube. Tommy Kent and Kelly Snyder. Looking back to old junior nationals days in the 2000s, about 100 years ago now, Nate. Smitty also involved in those junior nationals too. Chris was just the little pup chasing behind us, and Vicky Persinger out of Alaska, I'm sure knows those names as well.
Probably don't have enough. I'm going to give you a little more.
Guard replaced. Chris wants to try to run this back and move these stones around. Just playing that familiar out-turn peel. Little bit of a pump on that release for sure. And just on the release that time again, Nate, not tough to see on that one. Definitely a little bit of a pop.
As we talked about yesterday, so straight on those hits as it is, and those releases, just that little bit out, it's going to stay there.
That one will frustrate Chris a little bit. He takes pride in making at least 1 out of 2 of those. No easy call for Smitty replacing this guard again, sitting 2. Only 2 stones left in this end for Persinger Plys. And with where that red stone is on the back of the 4-foot, Nate, makes it really difficult to unlock the second yellow one. And that stone in the 8-foot essentially serving as a guard as well. Good guard by Smitty, a little tighter than they would have liked, so Chris is going to have a slightly shorter and easier run this time. I think ideal result for Chris would be one of those yellows being gone and one of the reds sticking around. But more than anything else, just trying to give themselves an opportunity to score.
Yeah, and open up that scoring area. Make sure you can get on the board and maintain your lead. Kim and Jason, it's mission accomplished. If you pick a shot for the opponent to throw in doubles, it is these run backs.
Better throw that time. It still needs to get up a little bit.
Oh.
Still a little bit on that wide side. And
Now, not that there's much room, but he's got his own rocks in his draw path, does Chris, after those couple run backs.
yeah, and there's nothing that they can make on the out-turn side, I don't believe, regardless of if that rock was there or not, to try to score, as, again, that red stone is still locked in behind. This is looking like a steal of 2 right now. One more good guard here from Kim Ryman. We might see the angle run in on that corner guard on the intern side just to try to move one of those stones off. Kelly Snyder saying decades don't matter. Tell that to my back, Kelly. So Kim Rhymes, guard attempt. Line looks pretty close. May need to finish this just a little bit. Don't want to leave the run for Vicky. And that is well done again. So really well played end here from Team Ryman Smith. Nate didn't really make any mistakes all the way through.
Just about 5 perfect makes.
Yeah, and Vicky's looking at the open part of that yellow stone, but I'm not sure that that matters. I don't think they can.
Rocks are as lively as they get, but that's got to move quite a ways sideways to get that top red to count.
Still could play that run, yellow, red, yellow, on the guard that was just thrown. They can play the angle run on that red guard that Chris is lining up right now. I think that would probably be my pick.
Let's just pick one here. We've seen your lines on runners, we only.
Yeah. Just gotta hit it a millimeter on this side.
They're going to stick with this center run back again.
I think I caught Chris saying that there's not really a way to give up 3 with this. Of course, those are the famous last words.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's true. I think there is a way you can give up 3 with this shot. Well, maybe not. I think that top yellow one's going if you hit it in a spot where the red would stay. So we'll go with that. Final stone of the first half of the game. Vicky Persinger playing the out-turn run back. Looks on the same path that Chris's was on. Needs to get up. Oh, what a great shot by Vicky to hold him to 1. Really important point there to hold the lead, and still a steal for Ryman Smith. Heading into the 4th end break, brought to you by Warm Room Hero, the intuitive curling club software that takes the stress out of schedules, registrations, and more. Warm Room Hero, a platform built for curlers by curlers. Check out Warm Room Hero at curling.club today. And our score at the break, Persinger and Plys leading Ryman Smith 4-3.
Let's say you're in high school and there's a sport you like, but sometimes you think, you know, it might be cool to try a new sport.
Twin Cities Orthopedics is ready to go with more doctors, specialty services, and convenient urgent care locations. Ready, set, TCO.
So at the break, taking a look at the scores on these all-important games for playoff contention. Sheet B, 9-0 Moores and Wheeler doing their part to try to stay alive over Rohrbacher and Skebby. Sheet C, we have the Hamiltons leading 6-0, playing the fifth. They would lock up their playoff spot, and we believe the 2 seed with that victory. Over on sheet E, not sure what to say about that score. A lot to a little. Geving and Schuster locking in their playoff spot with a victory there if they can hold that lead, and we believe that would be the 3 seed. So our feature game may be of no importance if those games hold, but Ryman Smith did need a win and some help in order to get into the playoffs. So their game and Claire Moore's and Lance Wheeler's game trying to do their part to get back in, but they're going to need a rally from most likely the Burrs to get back into this mix. There you see those standings, Persinger, Plys, with the 1 seed in the bye locked up. Geving, Schuster, Hamilton into the playoffs with wins. Moores, Wheeler, Rhymes, Smith needing wins and a loss from either Geving, Schuster, or Hamilton and Hamilton. So all eyes right now on sheet C. Burr, and Hamilton. If the Burrs are able to somehow find a comeback in that game, they could bring those 3-3 teams back into the mix.
Down 11-0 over there. Tony Cott, as always, all smiles and laughs out on the ice, no matter the situation.
There is your number 1 seed out of this bracket, Vicky Persinger and Chris Plys. Getting of this 5th end. Vicky playing the out-turn draw. Kim Rhymes draw already on the back of the button. Sure that Vicky and Chris would like to stop the bleeding here after a couple of steals and get that momentum going again.
Good way to
Perfectly
start that
done.
for Vicky.
Well done by Vic. Important shot in this end. Appreciate the condolences in the chat box on the passing of my Uncle Denny a few weeks back now. And yeah, all the best to Kareen, Cade, and Tanner. For whoever that is that graduated with Tanner, appreciate it. Denny's a great man. Superman in all of our worlds. And obviously, of course, sad to see him go, but brought a lot of light to our lives, so much appreciated there, and I'm sure the Hammerschmidts appreciate it as well. Jason Smith, this intern draw looking like it's gliding a little, Nate. Still hadn't turned over, going past that Telltale Columbia logo, and that one is a heater.
You hear that ever from your first competitive event to your last after that mop and that 4th or 5th end break, depending, and watch out for the speed uptick there just a little bit.
Yeah, that weight I think would have been heavy on any conditions this week too. Smitty would probably be the first to tell you that. Nestled up in our warm booth up here. There's that Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar once again too. Out turn draw again for Chris Plys, trying to keep these angles too, with that red angled directly back to the yellow stone on the back of the button. Trying to get this to walk down at the end. Good finish there, and that is well done again by Chris. And angles definitely playing into the favor of Persinger and Plys this end. Hey, what are you liking here with these angles playing the way they are?
I know Jason just said to come in there with the out turn and tap it on the nose. The worry with that is running out of rocks before you get a chance to promote your own. I'm kind of seeing something on the in turn to change those angles up. They're so good for Chris and Vicky now. I think you got to move something around a little bit and get a rock in a usable position.
Yeah, with the angles playing the way they are, you have to move those stones somehow, whether you just bump the rock on the button on the in-turn side or play the out-turn to the nose and try to spill the top one to the open. They do have to move in order to have any chance of stealing here. And really, you're trying to avoid giving up a big end, too, by playing it because of the way the angles are playing.
Right. And before the shot, I couldn't quite tell. They may have even been second shot, but it's not quite relevant with how bad those angles are set up.
So that makes it a little better. Now the angle does play into being able to lose possibly both of those red stones.
Now Chris trying to do the same thing to change those angles up again to win them back in their favor.
Chess match continues, and this is mixed doubles in a nutshell. Reposition, re-angle. Don't get behind the tee line.
Wait a second.
Clear track.
Whoa.
Vicky calling heavy as it goes down the sheet here.
Curl or no?
Still needs to
Back 8.
curl to get any of it. We'll catch just the outside of that yellow stone. Doesn't really help the angles very much. Quick text from the chair of the board, USA Curling, Brett Jackson, asking if there's been any traction on getting a Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar sponsorship. And Brett, unfortunately, no, for myself or for USA Curling's sake. Nothing from the organization as of yet, but God knows I'll keep trying. You'll be the first to know. We'll get the contracts written up. Now those angles playing well for Smitty and Kim. 2 stones left in this end to throw for them, Nate. It's a question of if you're going to move them, where to? Because if they don't do it now, they may not get another chance to, or not a better chance to. Because Chris and Vicky may throw something that changes those angles up or guards that line. They are going to call timeout here. They think this is probably the best time to talk about it.
Always a good time to talk about it with Bill.
Bill happy the odd end timeout was called for the short walk, too. Can't really hear a whole lot from the players, so we'll talk through it as well. And
based on some of her gestures with the brew, I believe Kim's discussion was about how much weight to rearrange those with. Obviously, you could hit it hard and spill a bunch of rocks, but run the risk of leaving a lonely yellow with a pile of red still in there. So maybe something softer just to kind of rearrange those angles again and put some pressure on.
Yeah, I think you almost have to play something on the out-turn side, bump those around enough to give yourself a chance on the last one. Maybe, boy, I'd almost think control weight, move those a bunch. I don't
Yeah.
think you want to just tap. I think you want to move those rocks around a bit.
Yeah,
And then if you can
could
roll
have-
the shooter in a little bit, right?
Yeah, right to nose of your own or just somewhere else up top there, usable to keep control.
Yeah, I can't roll shooter inside, but if you can get to as much of the rock as you can at least.
No more words. No more words. Chris, you can give your input. You don't have to like it or not.
So yeah, maybe hack the board weight and get to as much of it as you can, I think would be my
Yeah.
call.
Just about ideal. Doubles is cruel right in front of us here on the close sheet. Harley almost made a double for 5. Would have made that scoreboard interesting in a hurry.
Yeah, that was cruel there. That looked like it was good. Smitty playing the intern side. Looks like they may be just tapping the back one to unlock that. Still going to find a hard time moving that other red stone with all the backing that they have, even if they make this. Bounces off just a touch. Still sitting 2 for Persinger and Plys. Heard Chris say back line. Hey, issue with that shot, even if it was made perfectly, I don't know that it moves things around enough to try to set up a steal. Not that you want to unlock those stones, and that's kind of curling 101 with men's and women's day, is you want your opponent to be the one to move the stones when you have the right angle. But with only 2 shots left and needing a steal and the opponent sitting 2, may not get a chance to do it if they didn't on that last shot.
Yeah, their decision there feels like a good choice if it was a rock or 2 earlier, but I think I agree with
Right.
you. If Chris makes this any kind of good, Kim and Jason will be in some trouble.
That pretty good result there. Sitting 3 now for Persinger and Plys. And even any kind of double that's made probably leaves a draw for 2. I think Coach Perry and Coach George may have had a good point on that one.
I think so.
Two on the board for Fountain and Cott over there in that Sheet E matchup against Geving and Schuster. So now 11-2. And a 2 for Team Burr against Hamilton and Hamilton, now cutting that lead to 6-2. Again, those games, the only ones that matter for if there will be any kind of movement in these playoff matchups. Moores and Wheeler doing their part with a 9-0 lead. They're just hoping for something to happen in that Hamilton game. Get into a tiebreaker scenario.
How much room do you want?
Smitty playing this, they're calling this in-off for Kim Rhyme. Trying to roll as flat as they can. I don't think they want to make the double as much as they want to try to roll on top of that red stone in the back of the forest. So Kim throwing it pretty hard to get a flat roll. Does get a roll in and sits second count. Not a bad result. If that rolls another 6 inches, Nate, that thing's locked in there on that stone. That would have been pretty good. Just looking at maybe playing red, red, yellow for 3 still. I think it may be there.
That's probably,
Close to maybe shooting the red over the top of it.
yeah. Then, yeah. Half good, quarter's better.
I think Chris said half's good, quarter's better. I think a third is probably the correct spot. Because you think when you look at this, Nate, that you're shooting it thin to try to get that stone to go in at a deeper angle. I'm not sure quite how to explain it, but because they're as close as they are, if you hit that red stone thicker so that it catches the red one thin on the top of the button, it'll actually pull it back a little bit.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of a drag on that shot. So you want to hit this thicker than you think.
Hard to it. Whoa.
They're only playing it soft.
Close. Curl, 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 curl. Hard!
Trying to get it turned over. There it is for 3. Well done. And that looked like about a third to me, Nate.
It sure did.
Really well done by Vicky. Great shot to pull that lead back to 4 points. All that work for naught. Score now 7-3. Persinger and Plys leading Ryman Smith.
The everyday person may not aspire to be a professional athlete or an Olympic athlete. You may just want to be the best person you can be. You just may want to sleep better. You may want to feel better. Thorne has many products that can support all of those things. So it's not just about performing or running faster or jumping higher. It's those little things that go into having a higher quality of life.
With the beginning of the 6th, then, thanks to our friends at Floor Curl, USA Curling member clubs are entitled to a 20% discount on any Floor Curl inflatable rink set. These rinks only take a minute to inflate or deflate and are the perfect way to promote your club at summer festivals, events, or anywhere you have a flat surface. No ice required. Visit usacurling.floorcurl.com. Use the promo code FCInflatable20. That's usacurling.floorcurl.com. Promo code FCInflatable20, valid until March 12th.
Vicky caught off guard by how much that tick attempt curled, but it also, based on how far she tapped it, looks like it's a little light.
Yeah, she definitely thought she threw it hard enough and ends up just nose tapping that stone to a tight guard, which
What's that?
serves as a second guard essentially.
Yeah, I thought I threw that kind of hard, actually.
I thought you had half.
That's
Maybe
active
just a little
today,
fresh
but-
there.
But there was a question earlier I saw close to the break asking if any teams have taken advantage of the lineup change rules in doubles and in between ends or at this event at all. I haven't paid enough attention to know if anyone's done at this event, but I know a lot of these teams have in the past, Kim and Jason being one of them. I personally played games against them having Kim throw the middle 3 and Jason throw the middle 3. They mix it up sometimes, and certainly a rule that some teams take advantage of, and it's a little surprising. A few more don't make that switch every now and again, but
I don't think I've seen it in any games that we've had this week. I don't know if it's happened in any of the other ones that we haven't had,
There's a double.
but even just with the old side eye, looking at the other games, I can't remember seeing any switches at any point, whether it's in the middle of a game or from game to game. I think these lineups have stayed static pretty much the entire week.
I believe Bookout Wiesa did change once or twice, but that's about all I can think of this week.
There you go. Again, looking at those scores. Sheet B, Moores and Wheeler taking care of the business they needed to with that 10-0 lead over Rohrbacher and Skebby. Sheet C, the interesting matchup right now. The Hamilton's leading Burr and Burr 6-2 The Hamilton's in the middle of using their power play here in the 6th end, and looking at 3, Regan Bird just made a freeze on her final stone to possibly save the tournament for Moores and Wheeler at this point. Still some game left to maybe crawl back in if they can, and then over on sheet D once again, Geving Schuster 11-2. I believe
I think that one just went final.
They have a final. We didn't see the final end being posted, but we'll have that for you momentarily. But Geving and Schuster now will advance to the playoff round of this mixed doubles national championship. They're not sure what seed they'll be quite yet, all depending on what happens with Hamilton, and Burr.
It looks like Regan's freeze was good enough. Becca's just drawing for her one.
That's an important shot there by Regan. Now Becca's draw is coasting a little bit here too. Looks like it'll stop in the back of the forefoot though. So it is a score of 1 for Matt and Becca. They now lead 7-2 with 2 ends to play. I'm sure you'll see the power play from the Burrs coming up in this next end. So still a long ways to go, but not over. For those wondering why Vicky and Chris didn't hit that wide open stone, was only the 3rd thrown stone of the end, so not able to remove anything from play until this point in the end. So now Smitty playing the bump on this rock and pushing it all the way through the rings. So now it'll be rock elimination mode for Vicky and Chris. They're content to leave that rock that's buried under the corner B and just try to remove anything in the open. Pretty natural double here for Chris, a little bit flat. We are in what they call the zoo here in Kalamazoo, Wings Event Center. This is the actual home of the Kalamazoo Curling Club. This is where they play their league games, have their bonspiels. Previous national championships were here in the same facility, but on a different ice surface across the way. Chris Plys throwing that up weight, out turn double. Actually a little thick and goes over the top. You heard Vicky scrambling and trying to keep up. So I think Nate, even though there's not a ton of space to place the stone, I think you may see a out turn, come around the corner guard, try to stack as many under those as they can.
Yeah, that missed tick by Vicky creating those double corners are looking pretty advantageous for Jason here.
Jason Smith playing the out turn, come around draw. Really needs to go for weight. I'm not sure this is going to get to the rings. Oh, Kim says she burned it besides, too. I don't know that that was going to make a big difference. That stone still looked like it was going to be short, but could have still been used as a corner guard, possibly, for the next shot, even if it was short. So if you're going to burn one, that's probably not a bad one for it to happen on, even though it would have been advantageous a little bit to have that stone in play for Kim and Jason. Good sportsmanship there by Kim, calling that on the burn.
Absolutely.
Chris Plys playing the out-turn hit on this open stone in the back of the 8-foot. Chris and Vicky content to give 2 here if they have to. Let's curl up just fine, Chris. No worries there. Now Smitty content to hit the open stone, as no reason to draw underneath.
I was a little nervous.
You may get forced to a point. Could also play the freeze if they chose to. But just playing for the 2 now. Out-turn hit for Jason. It is right on the nose for Smitty. Vicky Persinger will have the same shot to try to make Kim and Jason have to hit for their 2.
Looks like
Vicky
we do
and
have
Chris with a-
another final on that Moores-Wheeler game. Looks like they just went final a minute ago here as well, and did take care of their business 12-0.
Easy. Yep, yep.
Made perfectly by Vicky, and will be a hit and stick for 2 for Kim Rhyme. 4:47 left on the clock for Chris and Vicky, and 18 and counting now for Kim and Jason. The final stone of this 6th, looking to secure the 2.
Yep.
Like a little soft on the release, but see if it turns over. Should be just fine. And it is 2, so 7-5 will be the score. Persinger and Plys leading Ryman Smith after 6 ends of play.
How'd you guys want that? Pick one.
Just because you're not a professional athlete doesn't mean that you should accept less. The beauty about what Thorne does is our product quality is the same whether they're in the athletic line or whether they're just for the everyday person. Thorne has kept true to never compromising on quality, never compromising on efficacy, never compromising on safety for not only athletes but for everyone who would use their products.
With the start of the 7th end, Nate, have you heard about Warm Room Hero? Software company that's more than just software. It's run by curlers dedicated to building long-term relationships with your club. Warm Room Hero provides continuous support to ensure your website exceeds your members' expectations. Check out Warm Room Hero today at curling.club for special event pricing. You can only mix those up every so often, you know, to keep everyone on their toes. We are in the 7th end. Persinger and Plys leading Ryman Smith 7-5 with hammer. Using their power play. Tyler George and Nate Perry on the call. Center guard thrown by Kim Rhyme. Trying to create something they can go behind and set up a steal, stay in this game.
Well made center guard by Kim, trying to draw this play back to the middle and ideally force a steal, although tough to do on the power play. especially with hitters as good as Chris and Vicky.
Yeah, really well thrown there by Vicky too. And Nate, do you agree with the call to go under the corner for Chris and Vicky and not play to the center?
Absolutely. You don't want to fall into the trap of playing under the center when a close game like this. Get over to the wing. You do see some teams split the house here. Personally, I think under the corner is better. It brings more than two into play, and it also leaves that other half of the sheet open for your eventual peels and runbacks that you're certain to be throwing after Jason makes this come around here.
And also looking at the setup of the house too, if you play under that corner on top of your own, it makes that freeze a lot harder if they do play it later in the end, looking at a pile of points. And with this being the third stone thrown of the end, the run back will be accessible on the next shot. So you don't want to pile things in the center if that's what you're going to be playing anyways. This one is another guard, so I think you'll see Chris playing the peel.
You don't often see the double centers with only 5 rocks to work with, but it does force Chris and Vicky to peel, and you will have one left.
Yeah, I think it makes sense in this situation because you know that Chris is playing that run back if you come underneath that stone. So you're making him waste one before you go underneath, and you don't want to give them multiple options or multiple chances at that run if you can avoid it.
How many times do you see it in the 4-person game, this exact situation, just making them waste rocks and giving a world-class hitter one chance rather than 2 or 3 or more at a 12-foot run back.
And wisely just playing the single peel as well. Anything that they would have played to try to double those centers off probably would have played into a jam on their own stones in the house. Now I believe that thought Smitty would go into the house here, but they are going to throw one more guard and make Chris have to waste one more peel before they go underneath. So pretty much playing for a steal of one no matter what here, Nate.
Yep.
It's a little next level thinking from Smitty. Just making sure that they only get one crack at the run, possibly. Looks like a score of 1 for Burr and Burr in the 7th. So a 7-3 game with 1 to play, and Hamilton will have hammer. Nate, we remarked on that situation that Burr and Burr did not use their power play in the 7th. And for those wondering why that might be the case, that's a team that loves to play to the center of the house, and they probably looked at their results with the power play during the week and thought that they had a better chance of scoring multiple points playing to the center where they were at their strongest. So maybe unconventional for most teams in this field, but for Todd and Regan, I can't say I disagree that they probably had a better chance piling rocks in the center to score multiple points based on how they like to play the game.
I believe I mentioned yesterday, too, a doubles is so tough. In the 4-person game, you're throwing all turns on all sides of the sheet pretty much all game long, where doubles in the Burr situation got to the 7th end and probably haven't seen anything close to the come around line behind their corner or things out to the wing, where Todd's obviously been around curling a long time and I'm sure knew exactly where to put the broom around the center. Didn't quite work out for the multiple he was probably hoping for, but certainly don't blame him for trying and sticking to what he knows.
Yeah, and I have to give Nate credit for bringing that up, too. Didn't mean to make it sound like it was my idea. I agreed with him 100%. That's, Todd and Regan probably would prefer to play to the center, and it wasn't that they neglected to use it as much as they chose not to. Jason Smith talking about life lessons from Chris Plys. Just playing something to move this guard. Looks like they are playing that long run back. This would be a dirty one if he's able to make it. Oh, that's just mean. Run back to the rock in the back of the 8-foot. Not a shot you would probably ever see played in men's or women's, but it's pretty good. It rolls over a little of the corner, too. So still a guard to go around, but that one I agree with Vicky. Of course you want to play the out turn at that. And Nate, I believe I've mentioned Chris playing the out turn with Upweight a few times this week.
Well, he's thrown nothing but the out turn at his hits in this game to this point.
You could probably have him just move to Quebec and play with Jean-Michel Bernard at this
I was
point.
thinking of.
How's the line?
It's not an out turn. We're not playing it, but add the French-Canadian accent, which I am not going to attempt. Kim Rime playing the out turn, come around draw, trying to bury under this stone. Line looks pretty good. Trying to finish to bury, and looks like it's just about completely buried. Really nice draw there.
Maybe just that inside edge, but really well done by Kim.
Yeah, with the amount of curl, you can definitely get to that stone with hack.
As we said, it is touchy with it. If you call hack, you've got to be sure to throw just hack. Otherwise, you're have to sail right by it as you delay that break point.
Yeah, it has to get across the center line before it takes that turn, too. So that's the danger on this shot. You could also just try to straight pick it as opposed to playing it soft.
Right.
They're playing hack. I think that would be my call. You could also just draw, but they're figuring you make this, you win the game. If you draw for one, you still have to draw the button, so it's not like it's a gimme.
Right.
As long as both shots are relatively difficult, might as well play the one that ends the game. Final shot of the seventh, Vicky Persinger playing the out-turn hack weight hit for 3 points. Oh, they did change their mind. I heard hack, you heard hack.
I heard hack down the center, and here we are with the draw.
Well, it looks like it's all there as of now. Now starting to turn.
Never backing, never backing, never backing.
Chris trying to get a piece of that yellow stone to slow it down, but yeah, just a little heavy on the draw for Vicky, and Ryman Smith find a steal. Get to 7-6 now after 7 ends, on to the 8th.
The everyday person may not aspire to be a professional athlete or an Olympic athlete. You may just want to be the best person you can be. You just may want to sleep better. You may want to feel better. Thorne has many products that can support all of those things. So it's not just about performing or running faster or jumping higher. It's those little things that go into having a higher quality of life.
Eighth end of the final round robin game for Pool A. 2023 USA Curling Mixed Doubles National Championships. Tyler George and Nate Perry. 7-6, Persinger and Plys leading Ryman Smith after a great draw by Kim Rime. Sets up a steal in the 7th end. Still some drama in this game, Nate, but no drama left for the playoffs as the seeds are now set. Persinger and Plys will be the #1 seed out of this pool. Hamilton make it a final 7-3 over Burr and Burr. They will be the 2 seed. Geving Schuster with a 13-2 win over Fountain and Cott. They will be the 3 seed. And by virtue of the head-to-head victory between the Hamiltons and Geving and Schuster, Matt and Becca coming out on top in their game, they secure that 2 seed. Should be noted, too, that Moores and Wheeler needing a win to keep their playoff hopes alive, handled their business with the 12-0 victory over Rohrbacher and Skebby, so they brought their best when it counted. Did not get the help they needed in the other two games. And a wonderful effort here as well by Kim Rime and Jason Smith. After trailing 4-0 after the first end, and then 7-3 after 5 ends, climbing back to cut the deficit to 1. Going to the 8th, there are your standings, and you see those 3 teams clear for the 3 playoff spots available out of this pool. Persinger Plys the 1, Hamilton will be the 2, and Geving Schuster will be the 3 seed. Jason Smith playing the intern draw now. Not a bad setup to start this end for Smitty and Kim. Looking for either a freeze or a small tap on this intern side. This looks like it needs to go. Now, Nate, with seeing the scores on the other sheets for these two, I'm sure they're aware of the situation. Kind of nice knowing, at least at the very least, that these sweeps that they have, they can leave everything else out there because there won't be any more after this game is done. A very, very small victory in the grand scheme.
When we talked earlier about having something to play for, even if it's not necessarily for playoff seeding or implications, Kim and Jason giving it, they're all out there and stealing on the power plays. No small feat.
Yeah, and could be a good feather in the cap too, even to win this game and beat the undefeated number 1 seed. I can still remember from 2000 juniors in Eveleth beating Randy Baird's squad with Phil Drobnik, a member of that team. It's the only game they lost at state, and they went undefeated through the nationals as well. I didn't. I went as an alternate that year to nationals with a different squad, but it was their only loss that they had in play-down competition until the Worlds, and I still remember it 23 years later. So sometimes those wins, I'm sure for these two, maybe not quite as impactful, as they're both experienced players at the national level already. But those little tokens that you get, those wins, you never know. Maybe Vicky and Chris run through the rest of it and then win the world championship, and then you can say you beat the world champs.
Beat the champs.
Line's good. Whatever you gotta do. Easy. Line's getting better.
A lot easier to be glass half full about these things when you're sitting behind the glass, too. I'm Jason Smith or Kim Rime, and I think that's probably the last thing I want anybody to tell me at this point. Smitty playing this out-turn tap, trying to move these stones around a little bit. Pretty good result. That red stone still locked onto the yellow at that angle, but maybe a chance with 2 more stones to play to move those around enough to get shot.
Tricky situation for Chris and Vicky. Your instinct up 1 with hammer is to clear as many yellows as you can see, but at this point that could get pretty risky given opening the door for Kim and Jason to get one in there.
Looking at the clocks right now, too. Chris and Vicky, 1 minute and 5 seconds. Play their last 3 shots after this timeout. So only really for 2. The timeout should take them right to this throw. Minute 35, or minute 36 for Kim and Smitty.
Funny, but definitely using all of the time given.
contact, or if I stuff it, take them back to red one. I guess then only have one rock there. Where if I cut it across the face, it'll open.
Again, as you mentioned, Nate, your instinct is to open this up, but how much is that going to help unless you can lose both of those top two stones? And there's an out-turn tap and an in-turn tap, so you can't really take both away either.
And their clock is now running. They did use that full timeout to discuss things.
Sounds like they're playing the draw. Now, this is going to be a little dicey for them with the
Right.
clock. 45 seconds and counting, and they have 2 more stones to play with virtually no time to talk about them.
Felt like they spent that whole timeout discussing what could go wrong on this run back or peel, and here they are, end up deciding on the draw.
You saw Chris pump the handle of that stone. Looked like there may have been something underneath it. Tried to fix it and throw it.
Felt like he rushed that in the hack as well.
So both with the time crunch and apparently some debris getting under that stone, Chris trying to get it out from underneath and then readjust.
I mean, at least by playing this, now, at least we'll have
39 seconds left for Persinger and Plys.
Good news for Chris and Vicky is their rock frozen, I believe, covering the pin is tough to get off the pin and sit for shot. Not 2 shots to do it for Jason here, but
Trevor Durst asking in the chat if we've ever seen anyone run out of time in these kind of events. I have. I don't know that I've seen it in a nationals anytime recently. I believe I remember maybe Cassie Johnson running out of time. I'll have to ask my sister on that one. At a nationals a long time ago. Intern tap attempt from Jason Smith. We may have bruised that a little bit, actually.
a little more weight than I think they may have wanted.
Yeah, that's one of those where the angle's so tough to see because the sweeper is blocking off the guards.
You're guarding the tap.
So now 30 seconds and counting. Now they know what shot they need to play because that rock got moved. Trying to guard up the tap coming around those stones. 23 seconds left. They'll have a little bit of time to figure out what they want to play on the last if they do need to throw it. Jason and Kim probably needed to move that on that last shot. Now they absolutely have to move the rock off the pin. Was around the corner freeze, so
I believe Jason was looking at some kind of pick on the one at the pin, maybe make that double, but now that red rock's pretty well locked in there.
Yeah, they need to make this out-turn tap. 30 seconds for Kim Rime to set herself and throw this stone, so don't need to rush too much. Still want to go through your normal routine if you can. They'll have 20 seconds to do so now. And it looks like they're playing the run as opposed to the tap. Well, it doesn't matter if you like it or not. You don't have time to pick something else now. 5 seconds. That rock is away. Trying to run this on the nose.
She's close.
Really close. Oh, is that shot rock?
What a shot.
That's really close. And now Chris and Vicky need to get to the other. Vicky's at the hack already. They're not sure if it's shot.
Has a shot, even if yellow is.
You could shoot the red one straight sideways with a pick, but they're going to risk the measurement instead. So this will be. Oh, how are we supposed to call this measurement?
Yeah, this will have to be an eyeball from the official. You won't be able to fit the stick in there.
This is going to be really interesting to see how they figure out how to measure these stones. Chris thinks it's red. I'm putting my face up to the screen. I agree. I think it's red. Incredible shot by Kim Ryan. Yeah, regardless, what an effort, what a shot. We'll see if they are indeed able to measure these with a little bit of space in between. Are you making a call here, Nate, too? I'm sticking with red.
I think it's red. The athletes think it's red. The stick does fit in there, and wonderful official Amanda out there to do the measurement here.
Yeah, Amanda doing a good job not moving those stones. So it looks like the measurement will be legit.
I thought it was red, but it could be wrong.
Spinning
It's
it
pretty
again.
close.
Close enough to spin it twice.
And it is red.
Nice shot.
5-0 on the measurements.
Wow.
You like that too. Wonderful game there. What a great comeback by Kim Ryan and Jason Smith. The final 8-6. Persinger Plys stay undefeated. What an incredible shot by Kim Ryan even to make that interesting.
And as the
Double
chat
run
said
back to
earlier,
the
asking
butt.
about the measurement devices, that was quite the exciting finish.
Yeah, incredible game. And
Nice. That was as good as
again, we do have the playoffs now set for this pool. Persinger Plys 7-0 will be the number 1 seed with a bye. Hamilton 5-2, the 2 seed by virtue of their win over Eileen Geving and John Schuster. They will be the 3 seed. Clarimore's Lance Wheeler finish at 4-3 with a win that would have kept them alive if they got a little help, but that will be the end of their tournament. Good week for them. Ryman Smith millimeters away from possibly getting to an extra end in that game. They finished 3-4. Burr and Burr, Fountain and Cott 2-5, and Rohrbacher Skebby 0-7. Now in Pool 2, Pool B, TC and Dropkin 6-0. They will be the number 1 seed. Anderson, Stapera, Strauss, Casper needing wins to lock in their position. Both at 4-2. Anderson, Richardson, Nickel, both 3-3, needing a win and help to get into a tiebreaker. Mulaney Sinnott 2-4, Bookout Weeza 1-5, Podol Perry 1-5. There is our feature game for tonight. Extremely important matchup. Sarah Anderson, Andrew Stapera taking on Kirsten Nickel and Gabe Nickel. With this one, we know what's at stake. Nickel and Nickel needing a win to get into a tiebreaker. They will not need help. If they win, they'll be tied with Anderson and Stapera. So very direct in that situation. They just need to focus on their own sheet. That is the end. Nate, good luck tonight in the final game. Thanks for helping us out in the booth again. A lot of fun working with you.
Yeah, a ton of fun and 2 exciting games. An extra end yesterday and a measure for the win here today.
Tonight's game will be at 7:30 Eastern Time. We'll be back here in the booth, and a special treat in the broadcast booth tonight. Working the game remotely with me will be 2-time Scotties champion Chelsea Carey. Really looking forward to working with Chelsea. Good friend, and should be a lot of fun for the viewers. We're hoping everything works out for the remote side of things, but we've been assured all systems are go. So for Tyler George and Nate Perry, we will see you tonight at 7:30 for the final round robin draw of these 2023 USA Curling Mixed Doubles National Championships.